Greetings. I'm Colin Jones, Senior Policy Analyst at the Massachusetts Budget and Policy Center. This video summarizes the main findings of our report, Building an Education System That Works for Everyone. The report discusses our state's school funding system, also known as Chapter 70. This formula includes our estimate of the cost of an adequate education, which is called the foundation budget, and how that translates to a required spending level in school districts. That spending is made up of both state aid to schools and contributions from local communities. The second part of our report discusses various options for updating education funding that would allow all of our districts to better serve young people across the Commonwealth. We encourage you to explore the full report with all the details at massbudget.org. Our new research confirms that there are critical shortcomings of the Chapter 70 system that limit our ability to serve all students well, particularly disadvantaged kids. This formula has not accounted for increasing costs, primarily in special education and healthcare. These costs have risen due to factors largely outside the control of local schools. We found that in 2017, the foundation budget was $2.63 billion under the real costs of special education and healthcare. This has resulted in shortcomings in other critical areas of our education budget, most notably regular classroom teachers. That in turn affects class sizes, planning time, and the availability of enrichment courses that help create a well-rounded education for kids. Nearly half of our districts are underspending on teachers, and nearly 90% are spending less than the foundation budget level on supplies and materials. While these challenges affect all schools across the state, the impact is felt particularly hard in low-wealth communities that rarely have the resources to spend much above an outdated requirement. The lowest income 20% of districts, which includes many of our gateway cities, spending on teachers is nearly 30% below the amount called for in our formula. There are also significant shortfalls in maintenance, materials, and professional development. This runs counter to the intention of the foundation budget to provide more resources to those in need. Our new report shows that the highest income districts are using local resources to solve these problems, spending nearly 50% above their foundation budget, or over $17,000 per student. This compares to the least well-off districts, who are only spending $12,000 to educate each child. Middle-income districts face some of the same challenges. In many cases, they're dealing with gaps that require additional local spending, straining city budgets. These severe challenges have been known for nearly a decade. However, progress on fixing them has been elusive. In fact, since 2002, Chapter 78 has actually declined by roughly $300 million when adjusting for inflation. Updating Chapter 70 could deliver significant new resources to local schools. This would provide the capacity to implement effective supports for kids, both in and beyond the classroom, such as high-quality after-school, career technical education, and wraparound social services that address the full range of student needs in our schools. The second portion of our report, we discuss the details of making major updates to school funding in Massachusetts. There are several key areas to adjust in the Chapter 70 formula. This includes elements that are underfunded in all districts and specific factors related to serving disadvantaged students. Reforms to Chapter 70 would likely focus on the issues identified by the state's 2015 Foundation Budget Review Commission, an official panel of state education leaders. These issues include the growing cost of healthcare and special education, as well as greater support for English language learners and low-income students. Major changes like this would likely be phased in over several years. Therefore, MassBudget created several reform scenarios and set them to be implemented over 5 years through fiscal year 2023. We then compared these scenarios to a baseline with no major changes to understand the overall funding impact. In our first scenario, we looked at partially implementing the Foundation Budget Review Commission proposals, including increasing factors for health insurance, special education, and ELL students. This resulted in an increase of the statewide foundation budget of $800 million by 2023 and an increase of $310 million in Chapter 70 aid. In our third scenario, we addressed all areas of the Foundation Budget Review Commission. This added a 70% increase to the allotment for low-income students, which fell towards the upper end of what was discussed by the state's funding commission. Under this larger reform, the foundation budget would be $1.8 billion higher by 2023. This increase is heavily influenced by our largest urban districts with high enrollment of disadvantaged kids, such as Boston, Springfield, Worcester, Lawrence, and Brockton. Chapter 70 aid would be nearly $890 million higher under this scenario. A final model combined all of the elements of the prior proposals. It addresses each area of the funding commission along with a minimum aid proposal that ensures all districts see some gains. This approach would increase Chapter 70 funding by nearly $1.1 billion by 2023. Updating our school funding system will increase the opportunities for all of our kids to be on the path towards life, career, and college success. It will also make our economy and our democracy stronger. This report is part of the larger conversation about how we as a Commonwealth fulfill our obligation to ensure that every child in every community has access to an excellent education. We encourage you to read the full report and download a companion spreadsheet at massbudget.org that shows all the details, including how the reforms discussed here affect each school district in Massachusetts. Thank you.